Hi guys, today we're reacting to Fern, and we're watching ANOM, ANOM, the FBI's most genius operation. I can't say it, but let's go ahead and watch, because it sounds like it's exciting.
It's a quiet morning in an Australian suburb. The streets are still. The neighborhood sleeps soundly. In a few seconds, the silence will come to an abrupt end. Armed officers will storm through family homes. Flashlights will cut through the darkness, illuminating the startled faces of criminals, violently ripped from their sleep. Scenes like these will happen all across the world. A global
That's one way to
storm is
wake
coming
up.
down on organized crime. As the sun is rising, from Asia to Europe and finally to the Americas, police in 16 countries will strike. They will raid drug labs, secret warehouses, and private residences. Around 9,000 police officers will make over 800 arrests. Nearly 40 tons of drugs, along with countless weapons and millions in cash and
Wait,
crypto, will be seized.
16 countries? I think I just inhaled wrong from the shock.
Crime rings will cease to exist from one minute to the next. It will be the final act of Operation Trojan Shield, the largest sting operation ever, orchestrated by the FBI and Europol. And at the heart of it all is this phone.
Hold on, guys. Give me 1 sec. Back. Had to go get somebody to turn their TV volume off. But that's okay.
This video is partially based on the book Dark Wire by Joseph Cox. Cox is an investigative journalist. He went deep into the criminal underworld for his research. Due to the nature of some anonymous sources, we are unable to verify all the information independently. We highly recommend checking out the book.
I have a cargo ship with captain on side too. They want to throw over load as they leave.
When can we start?
Juanito in the
I have a
unknown.
job ready as tomorrow to pick up. It's already here.
This is a real conversation between two drug traffickers, sent via an encrypted phone. Encrypted phones are very special devices. They often lack functions like camera and GPS and are designed to enable more privacy. People use these phones when they don't want to be tracked. Politicians, military, corporations, a wide range of people use privacy-focused devices. The market for these phones is massive. For obvious reasons, they are also very appealing to criminals. Encrypted phones are often modified consumer phones with additional privacy tools. Sky ECC, EncroChat, and Phantom Secure.
Yeah, I think there was a... Who was it? I'll look it up and I'll
Secure phones
find
like
it, I
these
swear.
don't come cheap.
But I think there was
Phantom
this
Secure, for
lady who
example,
got like this
charges up to $2,000 for a
expensive
6-month
phone.
subscription.
Like, I am
This is
talking
the price
like...
you pay for absolute privacy.
I would never be able to
Some of these
afford
phones come
that
with
for
a
that
very
kind of
good
phone.
feature.
So he picked up the load.
But,
I
hold
think
on,
he's
so we
been
don't
arrested,
lose
and
what's going on here.
There's a lot of evidence.
But, like, it's ridiculously expensive. And, yeah, she posted it on, I think it was Instagram, but I saw it on TikTok. And somebody was explaining what this phone was worth and, like, how much money she must have. Or whatever, you know, she might have been gifted it, who knows. But, like, how sophisticated this phone is and how expensive it is, I was just like, yeah, no, I'll stick to my crappy old phone. I don't need something that good. But some people do need something like that, whether it's your line of work, criminals, politicians, like he said. It's just safety, unfortunately. But it's also, again, used by people for nefarious things. Let's get back to this.
BlackBerry. Yeah. I need that evidence gone. ASAP. 1 sec.
But the thing is, cops can't access it, right?
They can't even access that anyways, yeah?
If a phone is ever compromised, a remote wipe command, known as kill switch, can be activated. This kill switch wipes all the data from the phone, making it completely useless. For law enforcement, this is a nightmare. Even if police manage to seize one of these devices, all potential evidence can be destroyed, remotely. Over the past few years, law enforcement has aggressively cracked down on encrypted phone companies. One by one, companies like Phantom Secure and Sky ECC were shut down, leaving behind a massive vacuum. As in any industry, a vacuum presents
Someone's always gonna fill that hole or take use of that.
It is 2018. A rather dodgy businessman has an idea. He goes by the name Afgu. Afgu is an expert when it comes to encrypted phones, selling phantom secure devices to criminals. He's a bit of a geek, though not much of a coder. Previously, Afgu worked alongside one of Australia's most notorious drug traffickers, Hakan Ayak. Known as the Facebook gangster, publicly documenting his criminal lifestyle online, Ayak is deeply connected in the underworld.
I'm not gonna get killed in mine for laughing at that.
Phone companies going down,
I hope not.
a plan.
We're talking about criminals here.
Big encrypted phone, ANOM. ANOM devices are
ANOM. Okay,
off-the-shelf
that's how you
individual
say that.
phones, modified to run a custom operating system called Arcane OS. This is where it gets interesting. At first glance, it looks like any other phone. It has apps like Tinder, Netflix, and Spotify. But when you tap them, nothing happens. They're just dummies. ANOM phones come with several special features. One of them is pin scrambling. It randomly shuffles the numbers on the keypad, making it difficult for anyone nearby to figure out your passcode. The real magic is unlocked when you enter a different
Okay.
When you unlock the phone this way, you only see these three apps: settings, the clock, and a calculator. The calculator works just like a normal one, but if you enter a special code, the heart of the device reveals itself.
Okay.
The ANOM Messenger.
That's kind of smart.
It allows you to chat with an ANOM user anonymously. In case things go south, the phone also has a kill switch. ANOM will soon become a thriving tech startup for organized crime, and Afgu will become its CEO. But his true plan goes far beyond that. This story is about a brilliant sting operation, but it's also about privacy. How many input fields have you filled in your life? Remember the account from that sketchy online store you ordered from a decade ago, or that weird form about that thing you once cared about? Data brokers are companies that collect your private information from the farthest corners of the internet and sell it often to the highest bidder. That way your data can easily end up in the hands of cyber criminals. Think identity theft, fraudulent loans, and even maxed out credit cards. Incogni forces data brokers to delete your sensitive information. All you need to do is sign up and let Incogni do the work. Their dashboard keeps you updated on which companies have removed your data. Keeping your subscription means that Incogni also makes sure that data brokers don't add your data back to their roster later. Scan this QR code or head to incogni.com/FernTV.
This was an
to get
ad.
exclusive
I
60% off
totally
your
thought
annual
this was
subscription.
related
The
to.
code FernTV.
He sneaks these in
We
so
get this
well.
call from this lawyer I've never heard of, and who basically said, "I want to meet you tomorrow."
DOJ. Okay. I know
This
who the
is Andrew Young.
DOJ is.
He works for the Department of Justice in San Diego, California. Young and his team are meeting the mysterious attorney. His client, none other than
Oh.
Afgu. Turns out the lawyer reached out to broker a deal. Afgu is offering his product, ANOM, to the FBI. The offer,
Can't beat
Afgu will
him.
build the next generation of privacy
Have them
phones,
join you.
and law enforcement will have total access. A hidden back door. The ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card for Afgu, in case he ever needed one. His personal intentions for that are not clear. Presumably, there's already a lot of dirt on him. Afgu's attorney pitches the phone to the authorities like a Silicon Valley tech demo. Andrew Young and his team quickly realize this could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. What could be more valuable than having control over thousands of devices designed for criminals? Young and the FBI agree to work with Afgu. But many questions remain unanswered. How should the backdoor be implemented in ANOM? And how do you get criminals to start using the phones? And there is, of course, another major problem.
Wiretapping.
Without evidence
Yeah.
of crime, spying on phones inside the U.S. is illegal. Young is concerned the operation might not get approved by the Department of Justice. So the FBI reaches out to Australian law enforcement instead, and they seem to be stoked
Okay.
by the idea. With the help from the Australian Federal Police, AFP, the first ANOM phones can hit the black market in Australia. The trap is set.
Australia said set. We're set. Send them out.
Months go by as Afgu builds his company. The FBI remains hidden in the shadows. He hires coders from around the globe. They all work from home, completely unaware of their real employer. As CEO, Afgu collaborates closely with law enforcement. They soon manage to implement a backdoor that allows the Australian police to gather intelligence from ANOM phones. The FBI is still left out. The mechanism is straightforward. When a user sends a message to another user, that message is silently copied and redirected to a third location, controlled by the authorities. The users will not notice a thing. Now, ANOM just needs users. The strategy is to rely on word of mouth, just like any other product in the criminal underworld. Afgu starts handing out ANOM phones to Australian criminals for free. They in turn tell others of the device, and so on and so forth. After a series of tests, the moment of truth arrives. An Australian AFP officer stares at his screen in anticipation. He can hardly believe his eyes when the first intercepted message appears. All the hard work has finally paid off.
Pre-tax US
Ads.
the sidekick
Damn.
for advanced taxes.
All right, Mikey, how's it looking? What do you see?
It's 2019. ANOM has several hundred users. Demand is skyrocketing, and deliveries are spreading all over the country. Drug traffickers, Italian mobsters, and bike gangs, all of them are using ANOM to discuss business. Meanwhile, the AFP is meticulously monitoring every message, getting invaluable insights into criminal operations. But the FBI is still not allowed to read the messages. Young needs
My
approval
question
from
is
high-
this. If they're watching them, what's to stop the criminals from realizing that somebody's leaking information? Whether it's from people or from the said phone that they just got for free. That's my question. Maybe it'll get answered. I don't know.
ranks. After a lot of meetings and persuasion, he finally gets what he wants. His approach is somewhat dubious, though. Running servers with intercepted messages on US soil is prohibited, and Australia is legally not allowed to share their intelligence. The FBI needs another country to host the operation and pass on the information to them. Young reaches out to members of the EU, searching for a willing partner to help. Finally, Lithuania volunteers to host the FBI servers. Let's put a pin into these legal shenanigans for a moment, though. For now, Operation Trojan Shield can finally kick into high gear. This is Swedish drug trafficker Maximilian Rivkin. His nickname is Microsoft. He has scars on his knees and fingers. His right arm shows a tattoo with 3 monkeys. Don't see, don't speak, don't listen.
Yeah,
Microsoft
tattoos usually
runs a
mean
meth lab in
something,
Sweden,
whether
and
it's
is well
something
connected in the country's
good or
economy.
something bad.
He uses EncroChat to communicate with his accomplices. In the summer of 2020, Microsoft receives a weird message. In fact, every EncroChat user receives this message at that very moment. Law enforcement in Europe is cracking down on the encrypted phone company. Microsoft is screwed and urgently needs a new, safer way to conduct his business. So he travels to Istanbul. Here he meets Hakan Ayak, the infamous Facebook gangster. Ayak is working on expanding ANOM's reach and sees enormous potential in the company. The meeting leads to a new business partnership. Both men are convinced that ANOM is the future of encrypted communication for criminals. Together, they set a goal: push ANOM globally and become its biggest resellers. Back in Sweden, Microsoft wasted no time. He begins recruiting a network of people to help distribute ANOM phones across the country. With the downfall of EncroChat, ANOM grows at insane speeds. But users are skeptical. After the recent crackdown, everyone is extremely cautious. Trusting this new phone company is a huge risk. To build credibility, Microsoft tells others that ANOM's founder is on the run from the FBI. If even the FBI can't crack the platform, they all should be safe. In a fairly foolish display of trust, he even sends photos of his own Swedish ID card over ANOM to reassure his contacts.
I mean, that's one way to get people to trust you.
Meanwhile, law enforcement is watching the whole drama from a distance. FBI agents are analyzing all the messages, including those from Microsoft. Everything is unfolding just as planned. ANOM spreads autonomously and self-propelled within the criminal underworld. But one day, an officer reads a series of very concerning messages. Apparently, Microsoft is planning to murder a former cafe owner in Stockholm. Convinced that the man owes him $800,000, Microsoft hires a hitman. In a group chat, the hitman suggests to disguise himself as a delivery driver, approach the target's door, and take him out on the spot.
Something we know works,
Microsoft
bro.
loves this. At this point, the Swedish police realize
I'm
that
not
threat is
laughing.
about to become
It's
real.
just-
The police has no choice but to warn the target. The assassination fails. ANOM is never mentioned as a source.
Oh god.
It's 2021.
Me laughing and
ANOM
the
has
man
spread
trying to
at a
get
phenomenal rate.
murdered here.
With around 12,000 users and millions of messages
Okay.
in 45 different languages, the sheer volume of data has become overwhelming. FBI agents are sifting through countless messages from all over the world, ranging from drug deals and murder-for-hire schemes to money laundering operations, and even the occasional unsolicited pic. When lives are at risk, the police are forced to intervene.
Literally
ANOM, however, can never be named as a
reading
source
through
on the
these
field
things
work,
and somebody
where the
sends you a dick
entire
pic.
operation would be exposed. The secrecy of the operation is paramount. With every new user, this
I'm gonna have to
problem
censor that out.
multiplies.
Crumbs. Oops.
Eventually, the flood of intelligence becomes too much to process. At the same time, Lithuania's court order is coming to an end. Without Lithuania, where the ANOM servers are running, the FBI cannot spy on people anymore. After 4 years, Operation Trojan Shield needs to end. But when it does, it sends shockwaves through global organized crime.
Operation Trojan Shield.
Global operation. Investigation and operation. Criminal sting ever.
ANOM users all around the world are waking up to a nightmare. Heavily armed law enforcement enters their home, somehow fully and thoroughly aware of all their illegal dealings. Later that day, the FBI comes out publicly and reveals the secret behind ANOM.
For the first time, the FBI developed and operated its own hardened encrypted device company called ANOM.
Law enforcement agencies across the globe celebrate their unprecedented victory.
This investigation
I don't know, I feel like you should have kept that in the bag longer.
shined a light
You know?
on the shadowy industry of
Because now they're not gonna trust stuff coming through.
This is a watershed moment in Australian law enforcement history.
Operation Trojan Shield results in hundreds of arrests, the dismantling of major criminal networks, and the seizure of enormous quantities of drugs, weapons, and illicit funds. The evidence seized by the police is staggering. It feels like the ultimate triumph against organized crime. It certainly is the biggest sting operation in FBI history, probably in all of history. But as the dust settles, a harsh reality begins to emerge. This mission, hailed as a success, could potentially turn into a massive failure.
Limbo.
To this day, over 27 million ANOM messages have been collected. Based on this intelligence, over 800 arrests have been made. But experts are growing increasingly skeptical about whether ANOM's chats will be admissible in court. That's because the evidence may have been obtained through potentially illegal means. A German court has already set a precedent, ruling that ANOM chats cannot be used as evidence in trials because they could not be physically linked to the suspects. In the case of 3 drug traffickers arrested in Germany, the court only approved physical evidence for trial, dismissing the encrypted messages gathered from ANOM. In Australia, legal uncertainty has already delayed a major trial, with the court grappling over whether the data collected through ANOM's backdoor can be used to convict suspects. If courts worldwide continue to reject the ANOM chat evidence, hundreds of cases could be thrown into jeopardy. Criminals who are caught red-handed through these communications could potentially walk free, despite their obvious involvement in serious crimes. Other courts declared ANOM's messages as lawfully obtained. Trials will likely go through higher instances in many cases, dragging on for years. It's unclear how many ANOM users will ultimately be convicted. While official press releases praise the number of murders supposedly prevented, there's a troubling silence regarding those that were not. According to Joseph Cox, at least one assassination of a Swedish man was meticulously planned in ANOM chats and executed while authorities observed in real time. As these cases become mired in legal limbo, was Operation Trojan Shield actually worth it? If key evidence is dismissed and trials are delayed or overturned, the operation's long-term impact may be far smaller than law enforcement had hoped. And there's another dilemma here, one that affects us all. It's about privacy. Today, almost every popular messenger is end-to-end encrypted. Preserving privacy is essential. It's a basic right. Encryption technology is not just for criminals. Journalists, human rights activists, and dissidents from authoritarian regimes rely on encrypted messaging. Privacy concerns all of us. Data abuse can affect anybody. You might instinctively want to respond that you have nothing to hide. Even if that were true, what if you lived in a totalitarian state rather than a liberal democracy? Would that stance still hold?
That gives you a lot to think about. I mean, do you allow them to spy on you for safety, for stopping criminals? But it also feels like you have no, what's the word? Privacy. Whatever you say isn't secure. Like, it can get used against you. That's a little, I don't know, it's not concerning. It's more of like, where are the boundaries set for these kinds of things, for these kinds of apps, for these kinds of services. I mean, I think most apps have like an encrypted thing, like you said, but it's still one of those things that's like government accessing it. Like, it feels like they're limiting you on what either you'll say, you'll do, or it gets leaked to the wrong person and your information's just gone. But yeah, that's where we are in that video, and I hope you guys enjoy. Bye!